Welcome everyone to this Euresearch webinar on the last Horizon 2020 calls for smart mobility. My name is Riccardo Scarinci. I'm here with my colleague Rizan Richle, and we are going to present you these last opportunities for transport funding. The first thing we would like to do is to give you the floor to have time to focus on your research idea, on what you would like to achieve, and think about yourself in 4 years' time down the road with behind you a great successful European project, several research publications, 2 patents filing, and more research idea for the next project than you edit now. What we would like you to do is to use this seminar to find the first funding opportunities to achieve this goal. To do so, we decided to structure this seminar in 3 parts. The first part, where I will present it, is focused on funding opportunities for smart mobilities. As I said, my name is Riccardo Scarinci. I am the national contact point at Euresearch for European funding opportunities. My background is in transport research, so I'm very passionate about this field, and I really hope that many of you will find opportunities to find your own research. The second part of the webinar will be an interview with a testimonial, Christopher Winquist, from the startup ICEI, that is a successful startup that use H2020 programs to increase the business on the startup and now establish their research idea as a great SME in the field of transportation and satellite communication. The third part of this webinar will be done by my colleague Lisanne Rickel, that is the company and grant advisor at the Bern University of Applied Science, and she will give information on the benefits for companies in particular and the support that you can have from your research for your journey in H2020. At the end of the webinar, we will be taking your questions. You can use the chat function in the webinar platform on the right of the screen to write your question at any moment. We will answer them 10 minutes before the end of this webinar. In case there are questions that we don't have the time to answer, please feel free to contact us and we will come back to you by email. Now let's start on the first part, so the funding opportunities for smart mobilities in Horizon 2020. And let's start from covering some basic on what is Horizon 2020. As you know, this is the framework program for research and innovation by the European Commission and has large opportunities for fundings in all disciplines. It is structured in 3 main parts that are called often as pillars. The first pillar, called Excellent Science, fund opportunity for basic research in basic science. The second pillar is called Industrial Leadership, and it focuses on technological solutions to improve the industrialization, this digitalization of the system. And here we have fields like ICT, space, and manufacturing. The third pillar instead focus on societal challenges. These are challenges that the European Commission sees links to the society, for example, health, energy, and food. And in these societal challenges that we finally find transportation, that is seen by the European Commission not as a technological challenge, but a societal challenge. And this should be kept in mind when you are writing your research idea. This box that we have seen where transportation is, they are called work programs. That is a group of calls for a specific topic. As we've seen, the work program in smart, green, integrated transportation focus on different parts that are called calls. We can imagine this as chapter within the work programs, and this chapter contains finally the topics. That these are the text to which you really apply. So this information is the bounded information from the European Commission to specific challenges where they need your contribution to solve some specific problematics that is identified. What we are doing now is to present the open topics in the transport work programs, and this will give you the opportunities to participate and successfully develop your research and innovation idea. The topics, they don't only have a thematic aspect, but they also have what is called a type of action, so the type of topics. And there are three main types that you should be aware when you decide to apply for a specific topic. The first type of action is called research and innovation action. These are type of topics in which the European Commission is looking for new solutions up to a prototype phase to solve a specific problem. These actions are more far from the market than others, and that's why the funding is 100% for all the institutions that participate to this project. The second type of action is called innovation action. And this type of action, they are closer to the market. They want to have the proof of that the solution works in relevant environment. And research institutes typically receive funding of 100% of the eligible cost. Meanwhile, the companies receive funding only to 70%. This is because they want to have clear that the companies will be able to bring this technological solution to the market and have revenue by implementing this solution. This to maximize the impact on the society. The third type of action is called coordination and support action. This type of action that are funded 100%, they are designed to create a network of experience of expert in a specific field to draft the future research agenda and to make sure that all the relevant stakeholders are on board on a specific topic. So when you identify the topic of interest, don't only look at the thematic of the topic, but also make sure that the type of action fits what you want to achieve in your research idea. The European projects, they have a fundamental European dimension. So these are collaborative projects, and this European dimension is achieved with three main characteristics. The first one is that the consortium that is doing the project, they should be formed by at least 3 member states or associated countries. And Switzerland, being a fully associated country, has no difference in participating in European consortium as any other European country like Germany or France. A second characteristic of this consortium is that the presence of small and medium enterprises, SME, is strongly encouraged. That means that these SME are the ones that have the dynamicity and the flexibility to bring innovative solutions close to the market in order to maximize the impact of the research outcome of the project. The third characteristic is to have a correct mix and integration of academia, industry, standard association, and regulation within the project, including societal aspect and the end user of the solution. So when you are designing your research idea, think about a consortium that can achieve this part that includes all three fundamental aspects. Now, let's have a look at the typical journey in H2020. We are today, when we do this information event, in which we are presenting the open topics for you to develop your research idea. Hopefully, a large number of you will identify a possible research idea that fits the topic, and the next step will be to create the consortium with the characteristic that we've seen before to have the maximizing the chance to get funding. After this, there will be the long phase of proposal writing in which your research idea will be refined together with the inputs from the partners in the consortium and will be finally submitted before the deadline to the European Commission. At this point, it will be followed by an evaluation process done by evaluators and supervised by the European Commission, and hopefully in a few months down the road, you will have your positive results and you will start your own journey that you envision at the beginning of this seminar, where you can finally work on your own research idea. Clearly, the deadline is what is driving the timing. Here you can see all the remaining calls opportunity in the entire Horizon 2020 from now until the end of next year. Transportation has 3 main calls still open in January, in April, and in September. The call in January and in September, these are the same call with 2 stages, and we really hope that the one that want to apply to these calls, they already have their proposal ready before the holidays. So what we are going to do now is focusing on the topics that have the deadline in the end of April 2020. And this is now the time to start thinking about applying. So we mentioned several times that these are the last calls in Horizon 2020. But this doesn't mean that these are only breadcrumbs left for your research idea. Actually, if you look at this chart that shows from one axis the amount of money the European Commission put on the table for your research idea, and on the other side the years, you can see that in 2020 there will be up to 14 billion euros for your research idea, of which more than 350 millions are specific for transport calls. So although these are the last calls in H2020, these are a great opportunity and is now the time to jump on board. Now that we have focused on the basic of H2020, let's move on the specific of the smart mobility. We start with having a look at the vision that the European Commission has on smart, green and integrated transport. As we said, the European Commission identified transport as a societal challenge and not a technological solution. That means that you always have to keep in mind the end users for whatever research project and innovation you want to have. The European Commission envisioned the transport system that is resilient, resource efficient, climate and environmentally friendly, safe and seamless. And this should be for all the actors, for the citizen, the economy, and the society. All these policy that the European Commission wants to achieve, they should be somehow present in your research idea. And your proposal needs to support this great vision of the European Commission toward this resilience, efficient, and climate environmentally friendly transportation system. A specific word I would like to spend more time on is on seamless. Seamless, this means that the transportation system should be seamless among the mode of transport. So multimodality, intermodalities are keywords, but also across boundaries. That means the European Commission wants solution that works at the European level, and the users of the system will have no understanding of the boundaries among the countries. Here you see on the image on the left, these trans-European network corridors that are the main corridors that links Europe, and if your project idea has a European dimension that can contribute to improve these corridors, they will be a great added value. As we have seen already, the transport work program is in the societal challenge, but my point that I want to make here is that the transport solutions that are envisioned by European Commission, they are not only inside this part. As you can imagine, energy, climate, security, industry, ICT and space, they all have contribution to give to the transportation sectors. So you don't need to be a transport engineer to apply at transport topics. You can have series of implementation and technologies ready to be applied to this domain, going from artificial intelligence, sensoring material, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, and so on. That means that for you, there are more than 40 possibilities of funding open for you. What we are going to do now is to go through these 40 opportunities, and we group them in focus areas that follow somehow the mode of transport. So we will start for the first one, so with the maritime and inland waterways. Maritime and inland waterways, it really has the possibility to reduce the CO2 emission and transfer goods and passengers, and is going through extreme renovation in the digitalization and in the use of not fossil fuel engine. On this focus area, there are several specific funding opportunities. The first one is to develop batteries specific for waterborne transport that have different challenges than the batteries that are developed for road transport. The second opportunity is to understand better and mitigate the underwater noise produced by this mode of transport. And the final opportunity is to going toward the digitalization and improvement of the production of ships and vessels in shipyards, going in the direction of the digital revolution of the industry and keeping Europe as a leader in this sector. The second focus area that we are looking at is aviation, that, as you well know, is one of the main contributors of CO2 emissions. In this focus area, there are several funding opportunities currently open. The first one looks at the needed environmental regulation to try to mitigate and limit the CO2 emissions of this mode of transport. The second one looks at how to optimize the electrical power usage within the traditional airplane that have more and more ICT devices on board, and the use of electricity in the system is becoming a problem. The third opportunity is to develop the next generation of airframe in order to have more efficient airplane and so reduce even further the CO2 and environmental gas emissions. The European Commission is also interested in how to integrate this mode of transport in the urban mobility, in which you can think about drones, but not only drones, every solution that could bring this extra dimension in the urban mobility systems. There is great attention to reduce the CO2 emission of aviation, and this is grouped in what is called the Clean Sky Joint Undertaking. And there is also great attention to have a better traffic flow management system, and these are all included in what is called the CESAR Joint Undertakings. You can see that these two last boxes, they have different colors because they do not represent a single funding opportunities, so a single topic, but they actually have inside a series of funding opportunities that are specific for, in the first case, CO2 reduction for aviation, and in the second case, airflow management. So keep looking at this joint undertaking for funding opportunities in this part. The third focus area that we are looking is infrastructure. As you know, the mode of transport, they are going toward automation and digitalization, but also the infrastructure need this change. So here funding opportunities open goes in the direction of automated infrastructures in which the communication from the infrastructure to the vehicles is a key fundamental aspect. And there is attention from the European Commission to make sure that the infrastructure is robust to physical and cyber threats, in particular the most vulnerable and critical infrastructure in urban environment. Also, the need to have advanced technologies and systems to monitor the status of the infrastructure is a key aspect in which the possibility and the risk of having disaster, for example, collapse of bridge or tunnels, need to be minimized. And this goes in the direction of zero fatalities on the roads that is envisioned by the European Commission. And finally, there is the need of having advanced tools and shared tools for better planning of the future infrastructure in the European transport ecosystem. The following focus area that we are looking is the road transport. And here, as you well know, the main keyword is autonomous vehicles. So there are funding opportunities in this direction in which large-scale pilots of automated cars are needed. And here the keyword is large-scale, because several smaller case pilot of this technology has been already done, and what now the European Commission wants to achieve is to have large-scale cross-border pilot of this technology. The use of 5G to improve the capabilities of autonomous vehicles needs to be done, and for this there are other funding opportunities available. There is also the need to have light material to improve the efficiency of vehicles, in particular when we are looking at electric vehicles in which range and efficiency plays a key role. And finally, there is the strong need to have a future strategy and innovation in the road transportation system at a larger scale. And again, for this, there are funding available. The next focus area that we're looking is the one of moving goods by the freight transportation system. And for here, we have several funding opportunities that goes in the direction of integrating the supply system of goods movement at the European level. And again, we are going in intermodality direction. The need to have more research in automation for heavy vehicles and electrification of these vehicles specific for goods movement, and more analysis on which type of solutions these new type of vehicles for goods movement, in particular hybrid light-duty vehicles, are bringing in the different environments. And finally, you can see that this can be achieved by using technologies given by the part of the Internet of Things that clearly is embedded in this system. Then we are looking at the mode of rails in which there are funding opportunities that goes again in the automation of this transportation system, but even more in the integration of this freight and rail and inter-multimodality solutions for the railway system. Also, railways has their own joint undertaking, so this box that collect all the funding opportunities specific for the rail system is called Shift to Rails, in which the main driving is to move as much passenger and goods movement to the rail system that is a more efficient and less CO2 emission mode of transport. A key word that I mentioned several times is electrification of the entire transportation system. For this, there are open funding opportunities for the application, but also for basic research for technologies that enables this system. So the first one is the development of innovative battery packs for electric vehicles with a higher efficiency density. Another one is on the use of electrified vehicles, in particular in urban setting, in which the integration of this vehicle with the smart grids is a key element to improve the efficiency of the entire system. And finally, to develop new type of batteries, fuel cell and hydrogen, to be used in all the mode of transport. And this again is another joint undertaking, plenty of funding opportunities. I would like now to finish with a larger focus area that is the one of society. As I said, in transportation there are opportunities not only for technological developers but also for further study in social sciences, and these are encompassed in several possible funding opportunities. First of all, the European Commission wants to have cities as living labs of possible solutions for smart and clean mobilities, in which the support of municipalities is a key factor. There is the need to use data sharing for the customers and the users and the operators to improve the transportation system that are present. And there is the need to understand what all this digital transformation of the transportation system with consequence will give to the labor force when the majority of the vehicle drivers will be automated. There is the need to understand the change in the mobility culture induced by the new technology in the European society too. And finally, the European Commission sees the needs and so give funding opportunities to broaden the engagement of all the different stakeholders that include in the mobility system. And as you know, this is a very wide opportunity. So what we have done now, in a very brief time, we presented to you 40 different funding opportunities. So now you have in front of you 40 different doors, and we really hope that you will be able to find the doors for you in which your research idea fit exactly in the keyhole, and you will be able to start the journey by developing your own idea. The second part of the seminar is instead now we move on a testimonial from a successful H2020 company. The presentation is given by Christopher Winquist from ICE. Is a startup that participated in several European projects, and one of them was an SME instrument that allowed them to obtain more than 2 million euros to develop their research idea and move their startup idea to a more consolidated SME company. The interview that we have done with Christopher was done during an information event, the Proposer Days, organized by the European Commission, in which the topics are presented by European Commission, and this gives the great opportunities for you, if you participate, to get in touch with the European Commission side and with other proposers. And most of the time there is brokerage event that are in this large conference in which you can find the needed consortium partners for your research idea. So now I give the voice to Chris, and after Chris, my colleague Lisanne will carry on with the third part of the webinar.
So I'm Christopher Winquist from ICE. We are a radar satellite company who provide services for customers around the globe based on their Earth observation data that we are collecting from space. Myself, I'm running the analytics services and responsible for the analytics products at ICE. And as a company, what we are doing is we are building radar satellites that are launched into space. We were world's first radar satellite micro radar satellite developer, who in 2018 launched radar satellite in space that was under 100 kilo. That's what a micro satellite is. Yes, so we have participated in the Horizon 2020 program, and we received good funding from the Horizon project that enabled us to do our quite early research and development, both in terms of the satellite hardware as well as the software that goes into building a satellite and ground segment for that. Yeah, so the main benefits with this kind of funding was that we were able to recruit people quite early on when we were a very small startup with of course lack of money and resources, and because of this EU funding that we got, we could really do this R&D development in a way faster manner than would have been possible with the other small funding that at that time we had. So we're really grateful for the opportunity, and that really helped us in boosting our early development of this technology that is today world leading in terms of radar satellites.
No, but it's so welcome from my side as well. My name is Lisanne Richter. I'm the company advisor and grants advisor for the region of Bern. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the how we can support you. So we've heard from Ricardo what topics and opportunities there are around for in transport. And we've heard from a company what advantages they've had from Horizon 2020. And so your question might be, what does Horizon 2020 fund? So here we can see research, prototyping and piloting is part of this. And under other programs like the European Innovation Council, there are even funds in another context for the production and launch of products that develop out of certain projects. Okay, so what is the benefit for your company? You would classically apply for Horizon 2020 or a project for strategic reasons. And obviously you're getting direct cash for your research, development and innovation projects. It also helps you to build visibility and credibility in new areas. Find new business partners, which it connects you European-wide, which is an advantage for many Swiss companies and researchers. You've advanced faster than your competitors. You're getting the customer experience. And access also, Horizon 2020 also gives you access to talent for innovation. And you can explore novel market segments and regions within Europe. And obviously developing international networks for new products. So you might ask yourself, maybe some of you are thinking, this seems like a jungle. I've got the ideas, but how do I proceed? And that's where Euresearch comes in. We're your guide. In this jungle, it can help you take the right turn to the left or the right in order to find the right opportunity for you. So who is Euresearch and what do we offer? Euresearch is mandated by to inform, advise, and connect with researchers, companies, and organizations within Horizon 2020. We have a network office with the national contact points, and their strong point and their expertise lies in the thematics. So as you noticed from Ricardo, he knows exactly what the European Union is looking for in a topic, and we have national contact points for each of the thematic areas. Then we have 10 offices in the regions. They're all located in either universities, federal institutes of technology, and universities of applied sciences. And The regional offices can help you also partly in thematic areas, but not as deeply as the national contact points can. But furthermore, the regional offices support you in the administrative questions, registering in the funding and tender portal, etc., etc. And then we also have the company advisors who are in the regions, and they can, and that's I'm also one of them, we can have a look at a company's needs and support them to find the right opportunity. So we saw this journey from Ricardo previously. So we're at the topic point. What we offer is an idea check. So we saw Ricardo had the 40 doors. The question is, where exactly, which door is open to me? What is the right door to take? And this is where the national contact points or your regional office can support you to find the right door. So you come to us with an idea, a project idea, and then we see whether there is a call or a topic specifically that fits this idea. So we match your idea to a call. If it's there, then the registration and validation of a company in the funding and tender portal, sometimes there are quite a few questions, and your regional office is there to support you in that phase. So the next one is, as Ricardo also mentioned, is finding a consortium. So how do I find the right partners? That's one of the biggest challenges that face researchers and companies, because it's only a strong consortium that has good chances to have a successful proposal. The national contact points can also help you here, but in terms of their network that they have European-wide, there are plenty of tools, platforms, and events, as Ricardo mentioned as well, with the brokerage events are good opportunities. But what's important is, before placing yourself on a platform or putting a profile out there, it's really important that your profile is clear, that it is clear what your expertise is. And this is something that we can also support you in, is to, in terms, well, you can put it this way, that it's sharpening your profile, making it really clear and attractive to other partners. That's where we can support you as well. During the proposal phase, we offer applicants trainings. This is where an opportunity where you can bring your proposal, and national contact points support you in working on the current proposal. I'd also like to take this opportunity to refer to our other events. We have many events and trainings on our website, and take a look and see if there's something there that could be of interest for you. Ricardo will be sending links to our website afterwards, so that you can also take a look at the other trainings. We also do proposal reviews, and here I'd also like to mention that we are inundated with requests for proposal reviews, and it would be first come, first serve. So please contact us early enough if you'd like a proposal review, so that you make sure that we can actually do this. Next is the deadline, and once you've uploaded your proposal and on time, the waiting starts. The evaluation process takes part, and that does it takes a couple of months in collaborative projects. And if you have a positive result, your journey continues. And that's what we all hope for. So how do we support you on during the next step? The European Commission informs you directly of the result. And if you do wish, if it wasn't a positive result, we also offer to do a debriefing with you so that you can see what perhaps was lacking in the previous proposal, so we can see whether we can improve the points that you could improve on. And this you can do either in your regional office, or you can contact a national contact point for this. During the grant agreement process, there are many questions, and from experience I can say that many people do contact us, many researchers and companies contact us. We are there in the regional offices. That's where the regional offices are strong and important. Contact your regional office so that they can support you with your questions and advise you what the right next step is. And then during the project management phase and the reporting phase, I'm sure you're going to have plenty of questions over there. Feel free, don't hesitate, please contact us, because that's what we're there for. And then you're through to your final report, and usually some questions come up there as well, but as I've mentioned, the regional office is there to support you in that process as well. And yes, so please make use of Euresearch's services. We're there for you, and don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisanne, for this information. And now we enter to the final part of our webinar, in which we answer your questions. We have some questions on the general chat and some questions on the private chat that we will try to address. So I will start with a question on the brokerage event. So if there is a next specific brokerage event and how to find them. So on the how to find them, the Euresearch website is the starting point, in which there is a section on the top called bartering, in which there are the list of events that will be present in the next months, and also a list of events sponsored by the European EEN, European Enterprise Network, that is specific for this. Specific for transport, the next event will be the Transport Research Arena. That is a huge conference where all the main players will be involved, but this will happen in Helsinki in April 2020. And this will be too late, unfortunately, for these proposals, for these open calls, but please consider participating for networking and start having an idea on that. So now we move to the second questions that I will redirect to Lisanne.
The question is it worth it and possible to place information on the platform about a university research group without having a clear idea, but just to potentially join consortium? In our experience, it's really important to have a clear idea. It's basically, you need to put your expertise out there, and you know what your strong points are, where your expertise lies, and that's something that you need to make sure you've got. And when you in the funding and tender portal, under the topic, you'll see there are opportunities to offer your expertise, and over there, if you're just putting in, we're interested in participating in this call, the good consortia are not going to pick you. It's important that you have a good profile on there, that you have a clear idea of what you can contribute to this call or this topic. I hope that answers your question. I don't know, Ricardo, if you have anything to add there?
Absolutely not. I think the main point is to be specific. You never have to give the impression that you are fishing for money. You always have to make sure what you are bringing, what added value you are bringing to the consortium. So we move to another questions that ask that they are in touch with a UK company, and if this UK company can participate to the project. So the answer is yes. UK is fully associated to the H2020 program. So every company in UK or research institution is fully eligible until Brexit happens. And when the Brexit happens, now the date's the end of January, the national funding from UK is give the opportunity to fund the research project in collaboration with H2020. That means keep your partners, UK partners on board. They always bring valuable research and innovation support, and the only thing you have to ask them is to register with the UK Research Office. So please ask them to contact their all national contact points, and the national contact points will know exactly procedure to do. Short answer is yes, keep them on board.
And just make sure that they're not only one of the three in the project, the three countries, that they the fourth country, so that you're still eligible even without the UK company, so that there are three other associated or member countries within your consortium, and the fourth, fifth or sixth or whatever can be a British company, but you must just make sure that the minimum requirements are met.
We have another question. I will direct it to Lisanne. I will read it out loud so we are all aware of it. The question is, we are a SME, a small medium enterprise interested in innovation action. So this is the second type of action that we saw proposal, but is only funded at 70% of the cost. So how can they found the remaining 30%?
Yes, this is 70% plus overhead, so it's a little bit more than 70% at the end of the day, but the 30% can also be funded through personnel costs, so that it's not 30% cash contribution.
Thank you. So the next question asks, who in the European Commission is choosing which project to fund? So this one is a common misunderstanding of how the evaluation works. The evaluation is not done by the European Commission, is done by experts, so peers that are expert in the domain, that independently read your proposals, they evaluate it. During the evaluation process, then they meet together to have an agreement of this evaluation, and the European Commission is overlooking at this project. But there is no direct involvement by the European Commission in the evaluation process. The evaluation process is done in a very fair way, and experts are involved all the time. So that means that you have to write your proposal for your experts, keeping well in mind that the expert can be indeed expert in the general field, but not specific of your research idea. So every time that you write a proposal, please keep it simple as much as you can, with the right balance between technical details and general information. We have time for last questions, and I will direct this again to Lisanne, and I read it out loud. So we are a newly funded startup. Can we coordinate a project?
This is a very good question. I would definitely say to a new startup, no, don't do it to yourself. It is a huge responsibility, and it takes up a lot of resources. And going into Horizon 2020, it's definitely, I don't even suggest to researchers, first-time researchers, to coordinate a project. It's a lot of administrative work, and it takes up a lot of researchers. So in this instance, to a startup, definitely not.
Very good. So please feel free to contact us if you have other questions at any time, well, respecting holidays, and we will be happy to contact you back. Now I would like to conclude the webinar with some technical information. On which you will be able to find further research, further resources. So to all the registered participants, we will send you a follow-up email with a PDF copy of this presentation, in which you will be able to have your hyperlink. Particularly relevant are the summary of the transport and battery topics that we presented briefly in this webinar. We will also send you the link on the European Commission participant portal, that is actually where you will be applying. That is plenty of extra documents, policy papers that are specific for your topic. And we will send you an overview of the joint undertakings. These are these blue boxes that we've seen before, plenty of opportunities in the different field of transportations. In case you are looking at this webinar not live, all these links will be presented in the description in the YouTube channel of Euresearch. We call this seminar the last opportunities for Horizon 2020, but actually we want to give you the message that these last calls, they are the last call for this work program, but they will be the next funding framework that is called Horizon Europe, and will be transportation will play a key roles together as climate change and environment. So we strongly encourage you to participate and use these last calls as a door to your research idea and the door to the future, in which we'll be able to find consortium, find partners, and develop new research ideas that will be funded in Horizon Europe. I would like to conclude by thanking Lisanne, first of all, to be part of this webinar, the testimonial, and also the great support from the research team, from Roman and Leonie, that they are behind the scene to make this happen. So I thank you all for participating, and we wish you a nice day.
Thank you.